Digital Dissection, a nerd podcast, can at times contain adult language and themes. It is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Digital Dissection podcast, where we take a closer and possibly unnecessary look at our favorite properties, creators, and topics. We are your humble hosts, Joe and Mark, two pop culture nerds dedicated to telling entertainment history before it's forgotten too soon. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, and our blog for more information on the show. We also love to hear from you, so why not write us at digitaldissectionpodcast@gmail.com. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to dissecting.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They can see us now.
That's true. Yep.
Shit.
That whole warm up was captured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can no longer do our pre-game stretches that we used to do all the time and didn't just do right now the first time.
Whoopsie. Well, welcome back, fellow pop culture nerds. It's time for Digital Dissection, a nerd podcast. Joe, how you doing tonight, man?
It is a little toasty, not going to lie. Wisconsin has shifted from late fall to midsummer very suddenly on us. And I'm yet to put my air conditioners back up yet. Something I am regretting at this moment.
Oof. Yeah, see, that's why I like to make my calls from the nice, cold, dank, yet smells perfectly fine basement. It's that's kind of where the tradition started at my old house, right? Like we always filmed or recorded from the basement. It just feels right.
It did, and you have the comfort of owning your home. So your basement is finished and is your own. Mine is not finished, and I share it with two other people, and both great people. Like them both, fantastic. However, would be awkward if they came downstairs to do their laundry while we were doing the podcast.
So what Joe's trying to say tonight is that anything he's wearing beneath the waist is really sealing in the flavor.
Yup, just like Batman's rubber suit.
Well, everyone, it is time for another retro review. The 4th of the year. Joe,
And
how
we're
are you
just gonna
feeling
keep
about
rolling
these?
with them. I mean, I'm a little afraid, to be honest, because so far I remember distinctly loving every game we've reviewed, and none of them have walked like away with anything higher than a C plus.
You know,
And like,
yeah.
are these games not as fun as I remember, or are we just bad at reviewing?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's a very good question,
I always
actually.
thought this was much easier than it actually is, apparently. So yeah, because when they liked the game, the score reflected it. But like, yeah, we love the game. 77%.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's important, Joe, that you can only do so much with length. You got to do something with girth as well. Okay?
You want to
can't
reach
go
that
too
perfect
hard.
5 out of 7, you got to really know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to use the whole cow, man. And that's what we're finding out with these retro reviews. But today we are once again going back in time, but this time a little bit further back. The year was 1997.
Yes.
It was sepia tone back then, Joe. Don't you remember?
It was. And on a faithful Christmas morning, dawned a viral video that nay, they did not yet know it would become viral. But when that young boy opened up his Nintendo 64, it changed his world and subsequently the rest of ours because of that video. And we are going with one of the, I don't know, this wouldn't be one of the earlier title releases, would it?
Oh yeah, this is earlier.
Because I'm trying to, this is the first game that used, was it the Rumble Pack or was it the extended memory pack?
The Rumble Pack with the K.
Yeah. So this was the first time we got the Rumble Pack added. So this was, I was trying to really remember, I guess, gauge how early that came for the 64, because I remember it was crucial from this game forward.
Oh yes, it was. That's basically what helped put Star Fox 64 on the map initially in
Mm-hmm.
1997, having the Rumble Pack peripheral included in the
Paraphernalia?
box. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that the right word? Paraphernalia?
yeah. Keep your fingernail long because they're putting some yayo in the Star Fox 64. I-
Oh
so
man.
okay, so we didn't plan it this way, but
Mm-hmm.
so of the retro reviews that we've done so far, surprisingly, 2/3 of these games were technically reboots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go again.
Yeah. With yet another reboot. Which
Yeah.
is like this is something that I didn't realize was a reboot until research was done by the team
Oh
here.
yeah.
Uh I just assumed this was a straight up sequel
Oh
because like what we pick up with Fox McCloud, who is the
yes.
son of Fox McCloud, I believe, right?
I believe actually in this one,
Mm-hmm.
it was James. His dad's name is
It's James
James.
McCloud. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, Fox is still our main main dude and everything. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure his dad's name is James McLeod.
Okay.
So yeah, they did redo that a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but as we like to say, story time, motherfuckers. We're gonna tell you a little bit of a story about this reboot because you're right, Joe. There's some stuff about this that you think is a sequel, but
mm-hmm.
really, a lot of us missed this, including myself. When I first started playing it, I had no idea. So let's pull back the curtain on 1997 just a little bit here, because
Okay.
this surprisingly this is only the second overall title in Star Fox history. Did you know that?
Yeah, yeah. This one I did know it was only the second one because previously we just had Star Fox on the NES, I'm sorry, the Super NES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and that was one where I think it was one of the early games that had what was considered to be true 3D graphics on
Yes.
the SNES. They impressive for the time? Yes.
See,
Retrospective? No. They don't seem to really fit with the rest of the game, but my god was it popping out at us. And
oh
that's what
yes,
captivated us.
all the triangles you could possibly shake a stick at.
Triangles, pyramids. If it had 3 points or whatever is a triangle at this point in time, someone refresh me. I do with algebra, not geometry. Haha, what's a
Yes.
triangle?
You're damn right. Trigonometry fans were enjoying themselves quite a bit during that game, but yeah, this one, however,
Mm-hmm.
manages to be one of the best-selling N64 games of all time, specifically the ninth best-selling game, 4 million copies sold, and it was developed by Nintendo EAD. Which, Joe, do you know what EAD stands for?
Hopefully it's not a division of EA Sports because that would be a sign that at one point in time they did in fact make good games and we can just be sad that they had fallen so far.
Not quite,
That's good. I'd like to
but
go on
EA,
just to remember hating EA
yeah,
for all
yeah,
eternity.
yeah. Surprisingly, this was before microtransactions, so we didn't have to pay an extra 99 cents to do a barrel roll.
No, or we
Yeah,
didn't have to like cash in just so we could use the Great Fox for repairs.
yeah, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Although now we've given them that idea, let's try to forget that we did.
Yes.
but Nintendo EAD. So EAD stood for Entertainment Analysis and Development Department,
Okay.
which honestly I don't think putting department on the end of that makes much sense. It's kind of like the redundancy department, the
Yeah, isn't that
Department of
like
Redundancy Department.
I mean it could be like I guess mothers against yeah, mothers against drunk driving. The second D is apparently necessary.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
it's EADD. They just for some reason decided
yeah,
to short one of the D's and be like, no, we don't
yes,
need you, but you're still in the
yeah.
acronym somehow.
I was gonna say they're not buying vowels. The consonants they don't cost as much,
No, they're
right?
free.
They're free. Yeah.
Which
Well,
is good if that's how
yeah.
print actually used to work. Consonants are
Well,
free, vowels you have to pay for.
that's why those old time newspapers they tried to use everything in the old language and the old speak, less
Yeah.
vowels that way,
Anyway,
right?
you got yees all the time in old newspapers.
Well, speaking of the old times, whenever you saw Nintendo EAD, that meant it was an in-house development from Nintendo. That meant that
Ah.
they were not only publishing the game, they were creating it too. They were making the
Ooh.
sausage, Joe. So That's what this game ended up having as the creative backing for it. Designed and produced by Shigeru Miyamoto.
Oh,
The,
Miyamoto, you saucy son of a bitch, you're at it
yes.
again. Just
Oh,
pumping
yes.
out hit after hit after hit. And manana is not enough for him as he goes and makes
No.
his sausage of a Star Fox game.
You just see him there, like in the studio, just shaking that part down the middle and, like, waving his hair. It just back and forth. Good ideas are shaking off of
Mm-hmm.
him. Oh, yeah. That dude's a legend for a reason. And yeah, so he's the creative mind behind this. He's not just making Donkey Kongs, Marios. He's making the foxes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows what they say too, to reference that
I
old
mean,
song.
probably. He knows what they say. And it may not be that humming that we kind of get in that video, the dee doo up away. I don't think a fox sounds like that.
For the folks that know what does the fox say song, really what they're referring to in that song, dude, is like the terrifying sound they make when they mate with each other. It's like it's absolutely haunting when you hear this.
I had never heard that before. Now I have to look this up. Not
Yes.
currently. I'll do it after
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
done recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
incognito browsing. Do it with that.
Yep, I can't have that come up in my search history because God knows I'll make the mistake of like using my work account, and then I'll be at work typing in something that starts with a W for my kids, and that'll be the first thing that comes up. What's the fox make? What's the sound a fox make while mating? Oh,
Yeah,
great, Mr.
yeah.
Vanderpool's that kind of weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, your principal pulls you in. He's obviously a northeastern mook, and he goes, "It's like, hey Joe, the fuck you looking up in there, man? I got stuff about foxes. I got turtles
mhm.
screaming at each other. What the hell is this shit?"
And that's when you just say, "Back off, man. I'm a scientist."
Yeah. Well, we're looking at a couple of scientists of Nintendo's heyday, and this game was also directed by Takao Shimizu, who a lot of folks may not know by name, but he is the director behind the Donkey Kong game for the Game Boy, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby's
Ah,
Pinball,
okay.
obviously Star Fox 64.
Mm-hmm.
Later, he would be the director for, well, actually, he's one of the staff members for Super Smash Brothers,
Yeah, there we go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
and he'd be the director for Pokemon Stadium, Joe.
Ooh, which, I mean, that may have to be an upcoming retro review eventually, because, gah, Pokemon Stadium, the stories I can tell about that game. Whew.
It doesn't get much better for kids than, cockfighting with large monsters, right?
I mean, if your chickens could, like, breathe fire and have cannons sticking out of their shoulders that shut out water jets, I mean, I might get into cockfighting too.
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
exactly.
You probably couldn't keep me away.
Yeah. Or if you were an old school cockfighter, maybe this brings you out of retirement,
Yeah, it's true.
you
And
know?
you wouldn't be so afraid if something that looked like a dog with a glove on its head was fighting against your chicken if it could breathe fire.
Once again, folks, we reference Seinfeld a lot.
A
We
lot.
Nowadays it's like a language to us, like a beautiful language with a chainsaw. Uh, Different reference, different show. But once again,
Yep.
we're back to Star Fox. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go back a little bit before Star Fox, and don't worry, Joe, I will explain why eventually. But for now, for those of you who aren't aware, Star Fox was actually inspired by a shrine to Inari Okami. Are you familiar, Joe, with Inari Okami?
Isn't that the Nine Tails?
I believe you are correct. It's the same. Yes, it is the same
Yeah.
spirit of the foxes. That is, yeah, exactly
Mm-hmm.
inspired. So it's the spirit of the foxes, and what this fox represents is fertility, rice, tea, sake, and just general prosperity in agriculture, industry, and success.
I say that all sounds like good things to me.
All good things, Joe.
All good
Fine
things.
things.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming one good thing for every tale.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's reminding me of Grandma's Boy, where he talks about flying in the sky and then dives into the water, and
Oh
it
yes.
means good things are coming because
Good
he's
things
two
are
animals
coming.
fused as one. Yeah,
Yes. He was a snake in the grass and then became
yeah.
an eagle.
Yes, dude. This is where Star Fox origins come from. Is this shrine to Inari Okami? So this is back like early '90s when they got this idea.
Mm-hmm.
So that's inspires the original Star Fox, also selling 4 million copies on the SNES or the SNES, as we like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember, Joe, in the original Star Fox, you used to fly through a series of arches, right? Like that
Yeah,
was the gameplay.
that was the game. I mean, on the Super Nintendo, that was acceptable. But by the time we get to the 64, you can't have us just flying through hoops, Superman. What the
Yeah,
actual fuck? That's not a game. That's just dumb. You're not saving anyone just flying through a series of hoops. Which is why when they made this game, like we can't just keep arches. They can't
yeah,
only be arches. Will there be arches? Yes, but not the main point of the game.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And despite some of the simplicity with that, Joe, it's still regarded as one of the best games of all time. Not just one of the best Super Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
games, but one of the best games of all time. And one of the reasons for it, you kind of alluded to it earlier, Joe, was the emergence of the Super FX chip, which was a coprocessor on the graphics support unit or the
Mm-hmm.
GSU. So this was added to specific Super Nintendo cartridges that gave that at times 2D look, but then allowed you to provide that 3D look in the
Yes.
games.
Yes.
So
It's like when
yeah,
you add 11 to your volume for your speakers. You need just that little extra edge. You just crank it up to 11.
because of course 11 is louder than
It's
10,
louder than
right?
10. Yeah, you
Yeah.
could make 11 the new 10, but then it wouldn't seem louder. It's 10.
Well, then it wouldn't be 10
Wouldn't be
anymore.
10 anymore. No. So that's why you make
Yeah.
it 11.
That's why you make it 11 because 11's louder than 10.
Yeah.
So, hey, the folks who were helping us get that 11, okay,
Mm-hmm.
was Argonaut Games, right? They were the folks that actually helped develop Star Fox for the Super Nintendo because they were the ones actually making the Super FX chip. So Nintendo's like, hey, you're making that hardware. Do you know how to use it? And they're like, well, yeah, of course we know how to
Yeah.
use it. We're making the goddamn thing. Okay, come on. So it was their baby. They helped in turn develop the Star Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, it's video game history, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful for those who played again and again. I can't say indulged in the original Star Fox because the SNES wasn't my system.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Honestly, I wasn't either at first because, as we mentioned earlier in this program, a few months ago, my parents were like, "No, you're gonna get the Sega Genesis, and you're gonna like it."
Mm-hmm. And which there was no losing in that statement. That was totally fine. Like getting the
Yeah,
Genesis, that's still a win.
we liked it. It was just fine. But the Super Nintendo obviously was going through some tumultuous times as we got into the mid '90s. So,
Mm-hmm.
for those of you who listened to our Donkey Kong retro review, and this would have been our second retro review of the year. Maybe I should do the Kyle A. Bear Dragon Ball Z voice here.
Oh, yes, yes, we
But
should.
yes, last time on Digital Dissection, we talked about the era of the Super Nintendo around
Mm-hmm.
this time because by 1995, the Sega Saturn and the Sony PlayStation, they were out there just kicking ass,
Yeah.
taking names,
Mm-hmm.
or I should say kicking names and taking ass.
Yep.
And their hardware was like giving some severe penis envy to the Super Nintendo. Like they just couldn't compare with it. There's
Mm-hmm.
there's no way. Like more processing power, graphics are looking so much better,
I'm
right?
pretty sure that when those specs came out and they got slapped on like someone's desk in Nintendo, they looked at it and like, no, no, that's a lie. You can't do that. Not possible. Don't believe it. And they saw it and they're like, fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck, they're actually doing it.
I'm sure the
What
first
do
thing
we
they brought
do?
in there, like, how dare you bring this into my house? You
You and
turned
your
my
den
house.
of lies.
Yeah, you turned my house into a house of lies. But it was the
Hmm.
truth, man.
Yeah.
That's Super Nintendo was getting
Hmm.
getting knocked all over the place, man. It was like Apollo Creed, going up against
Clever
Drago and
Lang.
no,
Or Drago. Drago, yeah. Hmm.
is it Yeah, Ivan Drago? Yeah,
Yeah,
just getting
Drago was
getting their
four. Hmm.
getting their asses kicked, dude.
Although, wait a
So
second. He never loses to Drago in four. Oh no, Apollo. I,
no,
I
Joe.
was thinking Rocky. Apollo definitely
Yeah,
dies. My bad.
Apollo gets
Yep,
bodied by Drago.
definitely
Yeah,
does. Yep. Take that back.
unfortunately,
I was sorry.
unfortunately,
I
not
was thinking
not
main
yeah.
protagonist. Whoops.
Oh, it's true.
Hmm.
Rocky survives. the
Rocky does
Rocky
live.
series.
He does. He makes it through.
Yes, he does.
Good job.
Wow. So for those of you who are wondering, what year is it? It's 1995,
Mhm.
and Star Fox 2 is technically in development since Star Fox pretty much wrapped up its production. Like they were trying to do like a Lord of the Rings type of thing here, where we're just going to keep filming,
Just keep
just keep it
rolling.
running,
Mm-hmm.
keep going with it.
Yeah.
So they were working on Star Fox 2 ever since, but they realized we've got to get like an even beefier chip to work with this,
Mm-hmm.
which would have been the Super FX2. They weren't really into naming things with a whole lot of marketing beef behind it.
No,
So not
but you
very
know what? We
original.
appreciate that because, and
Yeah.
especially that they
Yeah.
didn't go like full like anime with a name. Like this is the Super Modulation Factor 4 FX5
Super good.
Tech.
Yeah. Yes. Tech number one. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well but
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where they were with this though. They're like, okay, so we're making Star Fox
Mm-hmm.
2. We think we got something good here, but in order for this to work, we need more hardware. And by that point, it's getting near the end of that sunset for the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
They know the 64 is coming out within the next like year or two, right? Because Nintendo's aware of its own things.
I would hope so. There wasn't like just a part of
Yeah.
dependent like what we're getting shut down. The super
Yeah.
department's just going. You had something. Ah, I've got a wife and kids.
Miyamoto, I trusted you. You son of a bitch. Oh, yes. So, but Miyamoto, he saw the writing on the wall. He
Mm-hmm.
went, I don't see us being successful with this. We've got to do something else.
Yep. So
So
they
they get,
start. Yeah, one of the few
yeah,
times you feel like Nintendo is actually thinking next generation gaming console with their games.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And they scrapped one of their essentially flagship properties, which kind of seems weird in retrospect,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, they ended up doing it anyway. And for those of you that are looking at Star Fox 2 and want to play it, it's actually out there. You can find it
Oh
on
yeah.
ROM.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to give it a
Which
shot, feel
I
free.
recommend doing that over trying to buy a cartridge of it. Probably. I mean, actually, I haven't
Yeah.
even looked at the retail what that's actually going for these days.
Oh, the original
In the
Star Fox?
in the aftermarket.
I mean, I don't think it's too bad. I mean, but either way, it's one of the more mass-produced games. Like we said, there's
That's
millions of
true.
copies out there. But for Star Fox 2, though, as it's a precursor to Star
Mm-hmm.
Fox 64, what they ended up doing was saying, cheerio, let's do it again.
Yes.
And they ended up recycling things quite a bit, working from Star Fox 2 into 64.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a quote from Miyamoto, though. He said roughly 30% of Star Fox 64 was being inspired by the original game. 60% came from the canceled Star Fox 2, and the remaining 10% was just original work done for the 64 game.
That math checks out. I didn't know if there was going to be a surprise like, and it was 10% extra effort.
Yeah.
Like some sort of weird inspirational dumb work poster for
Oh,
hanging
yeah.
out there. Like, no, no, no. No, Miyamoto's not messing around. He gets the math right.
Yeah, I think he also said 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name, but god
Yeah,
damn it, we're
he did
old.
it executional style. Executional style.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was
Oh, you
Fort
would do it.
Minor. I think it was Fort Minor, actually, wasn't it?
No, I thought that was Mike Shore and the Executioners.
No, no, the Executioners was, oh, that was a different song.
I thought that yeah,
That
I thought
was,
that wasn't Remember the Name.
no, no,
That
that
was
was
with
Fort
Fort
Minor.
Minor.
Yeah. Yeah, see,
Yeah, my
folks,
bad.
now
Yep.
we're
Mm-hmm.
debating about early 2000s, alt rock, new
Mm-hmm.
metal, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yes, so that brings us up to Star Fox 64 time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, Joe, I guess the question that I wanted to start off with, just to kind of get the creative juices flowing here, Star Fox helped define the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
But what about the N64 version
Mm-hmm.
made it just as memorable?
Well, I mean, this is something I would say definitely like as far as like you know like we're saying it's basically a launch title. Definitely defines the Nintendo 64 because you needed something that wasn't like Mario going for it. Well, I guess that's like Nintendo's thing is that they rely on kind of their franchise titles and their franchise characters. And like you knew you were gonna get a Mario game, you knew you were gonna get a Legend of Zelda, you knew you were probably gonna get a Kirby, like all of these things that already had like at least more than one game going for them. So pulling up Star Fox, that is a relatively new game of like as far as franchise characters go, was I think a perfect move to do because it's new enough to work, but yet it's got it's already got some street cred from the first Star Fox out there,
Mhm.
and it gave us a fun story that really helped the two because the story had more than one way to reach the end, and depending on what routes you took to get to the end, you could even get a different ending. So that's compelling in and of itself because like you look at things like Super Mario 64, there's one way to the end. You get enough stars to fight Bowser, you beat Bowser. You get enough stars, you can get Yoshi on the top of the roof. And all he does is give you some more lives. Nothing
Yeah.
groundbreaking, but Yoshi's there. Nothing great. But Star Fox, legitimately different ending. Like
Yeah.
like satisfyingly different ending. Which honestly, as far as like a lot of Nintendo titles go, rare to get a satisfying different ending. Because usually it's a little bit extra for a cinematic that you a few seconds long doesn't do all that much to it. It doesn't seem to do all that much to it. Link's Awakening, but very very good there, and like different play modes because I think this was out before Mario Kart 64. So the fact that you could have like a versus play mode in this and go head to head against your friends, which by
Yeah.
the way, stupid amounts of fun to do
Oh,
battling out with your
yes.
friends.
Yep.
I think because of that, the flexibility of this game with just the right touch of new nostalgia to it, like it was, quintessential for the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, and I like how you pulled a quintessential, like, term that usually, like, Food Network loves to use
They do love a
because
quintessential, a quintessence. They could have done too.
well, it's true though, man. This is a game that I actually spent a lot of time discovering, because like you mentioned, Mario 64, it was a game that I played a ton of, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Fox 64 ended up having a little bit different of an experience because, like you mentioned, there are literally 25 routes in
Mm-hmm.
this game that you could potentially explore. 14 of those led you to a fake ending,
Mm-hmm.
and 11 showed you the real ending. So, what was crazy about this is that a playthrough takes about 2 hours.
Yeah. And I guess
Yeah,
that's what's actually really fun about it because like we brought up the comparison with Mario 64. Mario 64 is just massive. You have to
yeah,
get what like 100 at least 100 stars to fight Bowser, and getting stars just takes forever in that game. Granted, that's still like you can get more than that to keep
I think it
going.
I think it was
Was it
75 because
75? Okay.
because in Mario 64, like you were talking about, you don't have to do everything,
Mm-hmm.
but there are certain points that you can collect enough of things like the stars like you mentioned, and that will allow you to essentially quote unquote beat the
Beat the
game,
game, yeah.
right?
So
But
like
yeah,
Mario, no matter what, okay, 75 stars, that still takes like a lot of time, a lot of commitment.
oh
Whereas
yeah,
like the beauty of this is that it's a fake ending, but unless you know it's a fake ending, it's still a satisfying ending, and you can do it in one sitting. So it's kind of this great mix of you can casually pick up the game and successfully beat it in, like you said, like a 2 hour run, as opposed
yeah,
to like 20 plus hours that you're putting into Mario. So like, hey, I got through it. This is great, and I can explore their modes. Then you figure out like, wait a second, or like you think to yourself, wait a second, I took this route. There's this whole other part of the solar system I haven't even tried going to, and then
yeah,
there's the stuff in the middle. Is that even an option? And how do I get to those things? So
yeah,
you can now like strive to play through differently each time. And I mean, that's even something that I did with a friend where we would just try and see like who could complete the most difficult path the fastest. And if you fucked up and you didn't make it to the right planet, then you were just out, and you had to give up your turn. So
yeah,
it's dynamic that way, where you can play it different each time. So you can either like, hey, I just want to fly a ship and shoot some shit and blow some stuff up. Easy path, go through. You're gonna have a fun time playing the game. You want something a little challenging? You can do some of the challenges and do some of the hidden things that are in the levels to go kind of like through the middle way or back from the middle onto like the super hard and back to the easy, or you can try
Yeah.
and just do all the hard challenges and go through the hard way the entire
Yeah.
route.
And it's true. Like
Mm-hmm.
because of that variance and how you could play the game. So just to kind of back up for a moment, this is an on rails shooter or
Mm-hmm.
aircraft however you want to however you want to look at it.
A
Uh,
starfighterer,
yeah, yeah,
starfighter.
on rails starfighter or
Yeah.
planer.
Mm-hmm.
So so you are fairly stuck to the decisions that you make,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I think the short play time is really important here because it's like, oh yeah, I screwed this up, but okay, next time I know,
Yeah.
got to do this differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning from this game was actually rewarding as opposed to, just kind of saying every mission is stealth optional, you
God,
know?
everything should
And
be stealth optional. Fuck stealth. Good God, it sucks.
yeah, well, okay. So as you mentioned, playing through these levels, you start off in the R Wing, which is like the standard
Mm-hmm.
Star Fox airplane, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you switch to the Landmaster, which is much more fun to say in like English talk, like Landmaster, uh, which is essentially a tank,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, at that point, couldn't they
Yeah.
just call it a lord?
Lord,
The
yes.
lord,
The,
the master of the land.
this is the Lord Landmaster
Yes.
of Star Fox
The
64.
proprietor of the abbey. It can shoot bombs and large rounds.
Yes, on the count of five. Three, sir. Three. Yes. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
okay, we got R-Wing, we got Landmaster, but then as you mentioned, because of the different paths you could take in the game,
Mm-hmm.
if you never explored those, you'd actually miss out on the submarine,
Yeah.
which is the underwater level, which a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks didn't even know about.
Which sucks because it's such a fun time getting to the sub. That was such a challenge and such a fucking ride to get to.
Oh, it's
Like I
terrifying
loved
once you get
playing as
there.
a sub.
Yeah, once you get into that sub, dude, it was terrifying.
Oh
There's nothing
yeah.
because okay, so for what we're talking about here, there's an if you once again, if you explore the right way
Mm-hmm.
and you take a certain path, you'll end up in Star Fox 64's like underwater foggy hell, and it's just an underwater level that you don't know what's coming at you. For those of you who are afraid of the ocean, maybe you don't want to play this level.
Yeah. Like you can like go with like the classic like I hate water levels, and that's because like they're difficult for no good reason other than the fact that I guess, people shouldn't be underwater. We just don't belong there. That's not what we evolved to do, and neither did foxes or rabbits or birds, and the frog, sorry, not deep ocean. They don't go that
Yeah,
far. But this is hard just because again, visibility is super low because it's like a deep ocean planet. There really
yeah,
is no I guess to quote Dread, it's all the deep end in this case.
yes,
Everything
yes.
is bad. And you just have like Lovecraftian like almost horrors down there waiting for
That
you.
perfect word to use. That is exactly what I was going to get at because by the time you hit the boss, like when I was a kid, at the time I was
Mm-hmm.
like 11 years old playing this. Yeah, by the time I got to that end boss, I just wish I was still wearing diapers. Maybe I was. I don't know. Okay, it's hard to remember now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just got out of diapers last year. But so that level in itself is like I think for a lot of people that's one of the best memories we have of this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's really important to get into though is because of this on rails uh like play that you typically have in the game,
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned earlier on with the all range mode,
Yeah.
that's what made these boss fights much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was almost like a way to evolve from previous systems, right?
Yeah.
Like when you think of like, Captain Skyhawk of the old days or 1942 or any of these games where you're just basically scrolling back and forth and
Mm-hmm.
not really, you're just avoiding getting hit. This all range mode allowed you to go from the on rails version of play
Mm-hmm.
and now you can actually move dynamically around the map,
Yeah.
right?
So if you're in any way confused by the on rails term, basically throughout the game, most of the time you are flying, driving, swimming in one direction, and that's forward. You can go left and right, but you're always going forward. If you miss something, you can't go back and get it. So when you get to boss fights in specific parts of the level, and not every level does this, you get to open up with all range mode. And
Yeah.
this, I don't think, I think only happens with the R Wing. I don't think you get this option with the Landmaster ever or with the sub. Um,
I don't think so. No, not with the
mhm,
Landmaster or the
no,
sub, actually. It's just in the R Wing.
just with the R Wing. So basically, you get almost think of like an X Wing dynamic where the
Yeah.
wings are usually straight, like kind of like straight backed, and now they're
Yeah.
more traditionally like flat. In the X Wing, like, ooh, we're gonna pop up into X's, which honestly, what the fuck does that do in space? Other than
I
just
don't
look
know.
cool, it looks
It's
cool. We'll give it that. But honestly, it looks like it's just more shit for you to shoot at.
it's just the aerospace version of licking your eyebrows, like licking your yeah, and then pushing the eyebrow. That's all it is. It's
Yep.
nothing crazy. But hey, but it did
hmm
create like a different illusion as you're playing through these
Yeah.
levels though,
hmm
because if you have like a string of like 6 or 7 things kind of just rolling at you and you shoot them, whatever.
hmm
But in the all range mode, it's true dogfighting,
Yeah.
and sometimes you're getting tailed by stuff. You don't know what's going to happen. You got you actually have to maneuver.
hmm
And then of course we have the U-turn move, which my brother loved to use in multiplayer.
Which
Yeah,
I mean, you can like U-turn's good. It's predictable.
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
after a while, you're
hmm
just like I kind of equate it to
Yeah.
the monsters fighting the Power Rangers while they're transforming into the Zord. You're just kind of
hmm
standing there like
Well, I'm just gonna shoot you while you're U-turning.
it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait. And
I
then as soon as you
guess.
come out of that,
hmm And then we can fight again.
like, after that, I'm gonna shoot you.
hmm
Boom. Yeah. But either way, though, it did give a very different feel to
hmm
fighting. And so I don't know. I just looked at that and I thought this was a true graduation from the previous gen. It wasn't
hmm
just, like even though they recycled a bunch of Star Fox 2 ideas, this was a really cool thing that never existed in the original game. So I don't know. I just found it really badass.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I agree 100%. So if we trying to think of like things to what direction move here because I do want to talk specifically just like actual like PvP, um, which I guess it shouldn't be. I don't think we could really consider this PvP because I think PvP it's always like over a server. This is just like local, like you can play against three of your friends, which is
yeah, this is
yeah,
it's like GoldenEye multiplayer, but Star Fox.
exactly. You've got
Yeah.
multiplayer and then the actual story itself, and
Yeah.
like I'm just
The
thinking like
story.
pivotal parts of the story before we go into
So
really like fighting our brothers and friends.
well, let's take a moment to appreciate story because we've done that in all the other retro reviews so far. And since this is technically a reboot, we do end up getting a completely different story, which I thought was actually pretty well rooted for a,
hmm
fantasy Nintendo game. and
Yeah.
and so basically you find out that like you're not the first leader of
hmm
Star Fox's little like band of mercenaries for hire that help police the galaxy. They're basically like the guardians of the galaxy, just really furry.
That's a good way to. So
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's just four rockets. Four
just
rockets.
just just animals,
Just
just
animals.
animals.
All
Yeah,
animals.
yeah.
Which we'll get into the individuals here because they're fun. All of them characters.
Well, initially you find out
hmm
that your dad, as we mentioned, you play. Your father's name actually is
Is
James
James
McLeod,
McLeod. Yep.
and he actually ran this mercenary for hire group before you do
Yeah,
as the
back in
main
the
character.
SNES days.
Yeah, he was the old man running the show,
hmm
and unfortunately, there's a scientist named Andros who's trying to just kill the galaxy with chemical weapons.
And
He was basically Saddam Hussein before his time,
I'd
or during the
imagine
same time.
he has a weather dominator or two in there. Just because what's a good villain without a weather dominator?
See,
hmm
Andros though is like a giant head,
He
and I
is.
always
And giant hands.
I always wondered what he did, what kind of diet he must have had to get there. But either way,
Yep.
that's really what drives the majority of this
hmm
game is that so basically James goes missing, right? Gasp, le gasp, and we're not really giving much away here
hmm
because you
You, you
literally find
you
this
find
out in
that
the
out
opening
right
credits.
away. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's in
yeah.
the opening story that you start the game and boom, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you basically boot up as Star Fox and get it going. And so this is where actually a lot of jokes have come from, just like pop culture relating to video games, because we already referenced the barrel roll,
Yep.
once.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, who is our favorite friend that loves to say do a barrel roll?
That's Peppy. Wait, no, no, no.
Yes.
Is it Peppy or it's Pepper? Isn't it?
I thought Peppy was the right
Is
name.
it Peppy? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
just
sure
Peppy.
it's
Yeah, it's
Peppy.
Peppy. So
Yeah.
Peppy is a hare. Isn't it even Peppy Hare? That's his name. Like
I,
it's not
he
creative.
he's definitely a rabbit.
Definitely a
Yes.
rabbit. Definitely a rabbit.
Yeah.
Which rabbit or hare, one of the two. He is a
Yeah.
bunny, and he is the only surviving member of the original Star Fox team. You
Very
forgot,
true.
like he's there with you. So he
Yeah.
flew with your father, which he does let you know many a times. And whenever things are looking bad, our wing might be down one wing, and you're running on fumes. He's gonna remind you to do a barrel roll. And sometimes, depending on when you get shot down and when the game registered you needed help, you will get the animation where your ship does its sad swan song twirl down and blows up, and right upon explosion, Peppy pops up and says, "Do a barrel roll." We can't, we can't because we're dead. There's nothing left to roll like any object, especially a barrel.
It cracked me up every time, dude. It just every because I had that happen. Like I'm like literally about to die.
So
It's
many
like do a
fucking
barrel
times.
roll.
I
Yeah,
have one wing. I can't do a barrel roll. It's like a limp.
yeah,
My
yeah,
ship is literally like just drifting,
yeah,
like
dude.
a
Like
fish whose swim bladder who's gone bad. You're just
yeah,
going in one odd direction.
drifting lazily to the left is gonna do more than a barrel roll right now. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. But to that point, uh, like Peppy Hair
Mm-hmm.
ended up becoming one of the best known memes in pop
Oh
culture,
yeah.
video gaming, to
Mm-hmm.
the point that Google even has a unique effect. If you put do a barrel roll in your Google search, the results will spin barrel roll style. Like that's how far we went with this.
That's fantastic. That's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely
So
ridiculous.
we've got Peppy Hair, and then we have your turn, Mark, to guess. Is our basically frenemy, who's always on our
Oh,
case because he could probably do this job a lot better than you.
Mr. Falco Lombardi.
Falco Lombardi.
Yeah, I always tried to figure out what bird to associate Falco with. I mean, he's a bird, obviously, so
Mm-hmm.
Falco is not that big of a stretch, um, but yeah, Falco is like what I love about Falco. This isn't going to ruin it for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I do want to mention. So your crew, as we mentioned, you've got Peppy, you've got Falco, and then obviously Slippy Toad is the
There's yeah.
third.
Mm-hmm.
Well, each one of them has like unique things that they bring to the table when you fight bosses. So they tell you about weaknesses, they tell you about health bars, all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of stuff. And what I love about Falco is like, yeah, like you mentioned, he you totally have like this peacemaker moment with him where he acts like he's better than you, but like instantly in the first level, he's like tailed by three people,
Yep.
and if he gets shot down, well, then he gets sent back to the Great Fox, and
Mm-hmm.
you're without him for the next level. So I always found that hilarious where he's like, he's just talking mad shit on you.
Get shot down.
It immediately gets shut down.
He is definitely the
Yeah.
kid in your class who says he knows karate but does not know
Oh,
karate.
absolutely.
Doesn't know
Yeah.
karate. Do you want to fight him? Probably not, but he definitely doesn't know karate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah, I mean,
So I guess like then what does I'm trying to remember that too? Because what does Falco give you if you don't like other than like I know in that first level, if you don't let him get shot down, you get access to the more difficult path.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things. If and once again, we're not going to give everything away
Mm-hmm.
because you got to play the game for
You
yourself.
gotta
We're
earn
not
it
just going to walk
yourself.
you through this.
Mm-mm.
But yes, in the first stage, there's so basically when we talked about the secret passageways, how to get through these levels and navigate them differently. The first example of this is there's two things you have to do in that first stage. You have to save Falco, as we mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to pass through the series of archways, very
Yes.
specific archways.
Fun callback to the original game.
Yes, absolutely. And once you do that, then yes, you'll veer off and you'll go a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And so each one of those stages has a different method like that. And I couldn't believe how innovative that was.
Yeah, innovative, fun. It's both innovative and fun, calling back to like the original game. Just smart programming. It's giving you something enjoyable to play, and then for those who actually did play the original game, something fun to look back to because that was the original game. So I wonder if like again because this was a time before the internet was widely accessible. So for you to get access to these things, you either read Nintendo Power or you had a friend who had Nintendo Power and they told you about it.
Or it's just like word of mouth, man.
Or word of mouth.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
seriously, it was almost like the airborne in World War II. It's like you just getting little bits of intel as you went, and you're banding together with whoever you could find.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely interesting to go back and discover a way you hadn't gone before. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
but yeah, keeping your crew intact,
Mm-hmm.
you could survive most of the game without them,
Oh
even if
yeah.
they went down.
That's true.
But it did make it easier, and without them, we wouldn't have a pop culture reference. So
True.
I
And
don't
as
know.
annoying as Slippy is, Slippy does let you know how much health the villains have at the end, how much the bosses have at the end. So
Yeah,
do keep Slippy alive.
yeah,
And because Slippy is the one who apparently is like, I think Slippy is technically the maintenance person too, or the maintenance
yeah, he's the
animal.
engineer.
He's the
Yeah,
engineer. So if Slippy, like, I think getting the sub requires Slippy to stay alive for a considerable period of time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Which is like a fun little end story within the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as we mentioned, we don't want to give everything away,
No.
right? But the majority of the game and the action involves this big old baddie Andros who's basically
Mm-hmm.
trying to kill the entire galaxy with chemical weapons,
Yep.
and then you slowly figuring out what happened to
Mm-hmm.
the original Star Fox crew
Yeah.
and what went down there.
And one piece of that puzzle is actually on top of the whole, you know, fun Top Gun feeling you've already have going with the R wing and like the big evil Andros here is what is a game without a great rival organization? Because
Oh,
there is Star Fox and then there's Star Wolf.
yes.
One one step up in the Canid family, which I may not have gotten that right because Fox or Vulpus, they might be in a different. I don't think they're in the same family, same order. Yeah, higher up
I
in the
went. I
order.
went.
Higher up in the order. That's what we're going with. So
Yeah.
bigger dog like creature. There we go. For sorry for any scientists, biologists listening to this who may have gotten a little mad at me. Um, but yes, you get Star Wolf. And so, of course, you've got like a wolf with, I think, an eye patch is like the leader of that. And isn't there also, you find out that one of the members of the original Star Fox team is actually with Star Wolf now?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember his
Just
name
adding to that
now.
rivalry. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what
Yeah.
the animal is, too.
Yeah. Oh, it'll come to me, but yeah, like,
Mm-hmm.
so that's exactly what you end up finding out.
Yep.
Uh, was that yeah? You're the original crew. You
Mm-hmm.
had one. I think it was Pigma. It was Pigma.
Pigma! Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
pig. Yep, Pigma.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pigma Dengar, who ended up betraying James McLeod, and yeah, he ended up working with the
Mm-hmm.
Wolf. Yeah,
At least,
and so
he was Pigma Degmar and not like Pigma Porkins, a weird on the head Star Wars name that I'm sure made an actor very uncomfortable. Um,
yeah,
but with Star Wolf, a fun thing about with them is that just like how if you take a different path in the game, you could get a different potential ending. Depending on what
yeah,
path you go in the game, you get a different final like conflict with the Star Wolf team too, because you've
you
got
do.
two possible endings with them.
Yeah.
And again, both are fun to play with. One is definitely far more satisfying than the other.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I mean, it's always nice to get revenge on Mr. Neo Pigma, the dirty swine, the bacon boy.
Yes.
But yeah, yeah, and that is what is interesting about this game because we mentioned it's a 2 hour like beginning to end playthrough, but really to be able to see like how all of these stages work and how many different choices there are,
Mm-hmm.
it's about 10 hours of playtime, maybe 12 hours,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
you can really invest a lot of time into this story mode if you really want to, which is again is part of the beauty of the game. You don't want to do that? Boom, bang this out in a couple hours. Or like, hey, It's Saturday morning. For some reason, it's all reruns for cartoons. I'm going to play this all day and I'm going to go
Yeah.
through the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. Today I'm gonna go the hard way, you know? Yeah. So
Hmm.
that's what really made this fun, dude. Now, one other thing about this game I wanted to mention was
Hmm.
that Miyamoto had worked on both, obviously Super Mario 64 and now Star Fox 64.
Hmm.
He mentioned there was more cutting room floor content for Star Fox 64 than anything that they had for Super Mario 64.
That makes sense. Because
Yeah.
again, like Super Mario 64 is just, it feels like they didn't leave anything out. There's just, it's such a huge game. And whereas for as big as Star Fox is, still comparing that, going the hard route in Star Fox is
Yeah.
still not the same as an investment as trying to go through every single star, and every secret that you can get in Super Mario 64.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I when I heard about that, it immediately reminded me of like the Game Shark and trying to put in different codes just to see
Hmm.
what it did to the game.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of the cutting room floor stuff here was kind of like customizing your R wing.
Yeah.
Uh, there were things like having different lasers for the R wings, so you could have different colors if you wanted to use those. They cut out different engine colors for like the back burner of
Ooh.
the R wings.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually like enemy shield graphics too that they ended up just cutting because they just couldn't make it appear on the screen
Yeah.
and have it work out with everything else that was going
Mm-hmm.
on. But they had a ton of more like unused areas. There were secret zones that they didn't put in. All of that stuff is just sitting there with basically just sitting there for history to discover again. Yeah.
And you know what? If they would make some sort of like anniversary edition on the Switch, whereas you could play Star Fox 64 with the bonuses, I'd scoop that up in a heartbeat. Would
Oh, that's a
happily
good
play
point.
that.
Yeah. I mean, I know I probably would give it a shot because I love the main series,
Mm-hmm.
well enough. So, but I would say, dude, after everything, like nowadays, I want a game that gives me a solid like 25 to 34 hours,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the benchmark for most game titles now.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly feel like I got that same level of enjoyment that I expect now
Yeah.
out of 10 hours of Star Fox.
Absolutely. And this is the thing where, like, I feel like so much today, like we've talked about this before, where video games just rely so heavily on like online multiplayer, or they rely on like battle royale, which is still online multiplayer PvP.
Yeah.
And in this game, like you still got like the chance to duke it out with your friends, but like there was such a rich story where like you could play that for, you know 10 plus hours involved in the storyline, and you could get another 10 hours playing with your buddies or playing with your
Yeah.
family.
It's
So
true.
you're still getting that same like hours worth of enjoyment out of it, as you would like a standard, like you said, like you should, I feel like 25 hours out of a video game, 25 hours out of a video game. You're still gonna
Yeah.
get that out of here. It's just through a combination of story and PvP.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, that 10 hours, I feel like that's, Heart of Darkness level. Like that thing's only 75 pages, but it's the longest fucking 75 pages you're reading in your life, because somehow they turned that into Apocalypse Now, and that movie
Yeah.
is forever.
It's true. It's true, man. I mean, I just you wouldn't think that an on rails game would be able to provide you with so many memories.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like one right off the top of my head, there's it's one of the like the last levels of the game just before you get to like the end world where there's like this long corridor that you have to go down,
Mm-hmm.
all while being chased by that giant stone monster that's throwing shit at you the whole time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fun.
I honestly had nightmares about that as a kid, like trying to think like, oh man, am I gonna dodge? Am I gonna bob and weave? Am I gonna get past this thing? Obviously, the underwater level is a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then the Landbuster, just that whole
Ah.
level,
Mm-hmm.
uh, playing in the tank, it was
Yeah,
such a different experience within the same game.
it's just so fun because like you're taking down like a massive train that you're moving alongside, taking it down
Yeah,
like a few cars at a time. It's just
yeah,
so cool. It's such a fun idea with the, like, I mean, it could have been like, you're just fighting other tanks, or maybe you're like storming a base. Like no, it's a huge fucking train that lets go of enemies here and there.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so fun. I think at one point I remember like you barrel roll or smash through things for like bonus items. That was
Yeah.
just fun. Ramming your tank through solid objects, always a good time.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
dude. Which, you know what? Before we get any further, how about we get to review time, Joe?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's start putting some numbers. So, our first metric of the evening, as
Hmm.
we always start off with, is the graphics of this game.
Yeah.
And once again, we want to remind folks this is not graphics looking at this game compared to today.
Ooh.
This is comparing it to the time period that it came out and the technology that was available at the time.
Yeah,
So
because
we're looking at the PlayStation,
hmm,
the Sega Saturn, and putting it up against those games and what we think.
yeah, doing the former like that would just be mean. Can't do that.
Yeah. Oh
Mm-mm.
yeah. All right, Joe, for graphics, let's do I'm trying to think what we should do. Maybe out of 5 barrel rolls, is that what we want to do?
Either 5 barrel rolls, 5. Can we go bombs? Because like bombs are great. You had to collect bombs through the game, and
Yeah.
they were like
I
little
mean,
booms.
we could do we could do bombs. I
There's
don't
a lot of
care.
things: barrels, bombs, planets, great foxes.
Mm.
Um,
Five secret passageways out of 5.
5 secret passageways. That sounds oddly sexual.
It does sound
It sounds
sexual.
oddly sexual. You know, let's
Yeah.
stick with barrel rolls. We'll do barrel
All
rolls out of
right.
5. Yep.
All right. Out of a possible 5 barrel rolls with half points also available, Joe, what do you give
Hmm.
graphics for Star Fox 64?
I am gonna give them. I'm gonna go 4.5. 4.5 barrel rolls out of 5 on this one, because I'm thinking like I'm pitting this up against like Virtua Fighter, or Tomb Raider, the first Tomb Raider, where it's it's all super spiky hair and square boobs, or like pyramid boobs. In this game, basically like same thing. There are no weird pyramid boobs, but like you've got some pretty boxy or like triangular shaped animals for everything you've got here. The vehicles themselves, like they actually think they actually like hit above their weight class as far as the vehicles go, because they just looked cool. And again, like the feeling of going from like attack mode to all range mode, that was like that's like the gloves come off. That's the white person's like doing this to their nose because they're about to start a fight. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
that is. That's that whole thing, and it hits every time.
Yeah, you didn't need Viagra back then. You just waited until
No.
the vehicle changed modes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you said all range mode, you went from 6 to midnight every time.
Oh, you totally did. Absolutely. I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you on the graphics. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I don't think it's
Same page.
perfection,
Mm-mm.
but why I'm giving it a 4.5 is because I look to Saturn and I think of games like Knights, like
Mm-hmm.
one of the first games launch titles for that system,
Yeah.
right? Knights was a fun game. It was definitely a pretty game.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the CD-ROM, that game doesn't look as smooth as Star Fox does.
Mm-mm. No.
And yeah,
Yeah, and I guess like the only thing that you could, I guess, like you could really, I guess, if you really wanted to hit it with something too with graphics, is that you don't get any like sweet like video recorded cinematics.
there's no way
Um,
you could. There's
there's no
just
way
no
you could
way.
do it on a cartridge.
No,
So like you
no.
don't get like for the JRPG fans, you don't get the sweet anime cutscenes that you got on the Saturn or the PlayStation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That once again is a reason why I give graphics such a high mark here
Mm-hmm.
is because it did that on a cartridge.
Yeah.
It actually made
Mm-hmm.
what should have been better technologies almost obsolete from the start,
Yeah, I mean
right?
this is basically the Mark One armor in Iron Man that
Oh
Tony
yeah,
Stark built in a cave is what it feels like. Like, yeah,
yeah.
Tony Stark built this in a cave with
The
scraps.
yeah, the pile of scraps.
This is what it felt like. Like cartridges,
Yeah,
like I feel like that was one of the big complaints for the 64 coming. Like these fuckers are still using cartridges. But
yeah.
these are the same people that complained that the Corvette is still using leaf springs. It's getting the
Uh-huh.
damn job done.
Yeah, it did, dude. That's why
Hmm.
it's not quite perfection, but it is really damn good
Pretty
for the
damn
time.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, jumping out here for gameplay, Joe, I am going to give only the second 5.0 that I've given the entire time we've done these because, god damn it,
Hmm.
the gameplay of this It straddles simplicity, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you feel like you're doing something new in every stage because
Yeah.
you're not just throwing bombs out there to take
Mm-hmm.
out half the screen. You do have to actually be, somewhat strategic with how you play these levels.
Yeah.
And so it's even though it's only a 2-hour playthrough, I feel like I'm challenged on every single level, doing something that I have to test a skill with. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that is like that's what gameplay should be.
Yeah.
Like gameplay should challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
Gameplay should make you develop skills, and it shouldn't just set you up for a home run every time.
Yeah. Or set you
So
up for failure in calling it hard.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, like they could have pulled like a Star Trek Beyond, and you could have gotten like a million tiny ships swarming at you, and like it's gonna fuck your day no matter what. Like, oh, it's hard mode; it has to be hard. I'm like, no, but that's borderline impossible. Like, I don't know what sort of bizarre Jedi new type powers I need to be able to do that, but I'm a human being and I don't have them. And
Yeah,
now I don't want to play your game anymore, sir. So
out of spite.
yeah,
Why,
out of
why are you
spite,
returning this? Why are you returning this game? Spite.
spite. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you said
Okay.
spite.
Yeah, there we go. We can't take it back. But no, no. I'm gonna mirror that and also give this, another five barrel rolls out of five barrel rolls on this one.
Oh,
And
holy
and
crap!
for the same reason, this game gives you exactly what you want when you want it. When you look at like actual like I think of like responsiveness of the controls, I do not remember this game ever being like, "Oh, you can see me moving it and it's not moving." Like it never
Yes,
gave me that. Like
yes,
that was in the story mode, that was in multiplayer. It responded well every single time.
yep.
And so like that worked great. And then again, for like it just being like so pliable, so like in flux with the story, like it's perfect. It gives you what you want every playthrough. You want a challenge? Take the challenging route. You want something that's a little much, that's a little more than just going through? Go the middle route. You just want to play through today? Take the easiest fucking route and enjoy your time. Like
Yeah.
it had a formula. It was I don't know if it was a formula that existed before. That may be some Isaac Newton new math shit that it pulled off, but it did it well, and I can't knock it.
Formula wise, when it comes to like these like aircraft driven experiences,
Mm-hmm.
like there are principles to this game that are pretty consistent. It's like, yep, you hit the weak points. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, you learn to dodge this attack, or you learn to dodge this
Mm-hmm.
cluster of like, shots coming at you. Like, yes, that was pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
But the way that you got to them and the way that you experienced all these new levels,
Mm-hmm.
those were all unique
Yeah.
stuff that just hadn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And which kind of brings us right into the replay value because we've talked a lot about replay value.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, out of 5 barrel rolls, what would you give replay value for this game?
Go another five. Like this is just
Ooh.
like I played the shit out of this game when I had it. Like you could just other than like I think because actually I never owned the original Smash Brothers myself,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to think of before like on that system, Mario Kart 64 was the only game I played nearly as much as this game. For replay value. Because
Yeah.
again, like you could pick it up and go through the story as much as you want. You've got a friend there. We can do some battling with each other, and like it's just fun to play every time you pick it up.
Yeah.
I could play this now on my Switch. I would love playing it.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're making this very non-controversial this evening, but I am also giving this a 5 out of 5 on replay value because like you mentioned, if we weren't playing GoldenEye,
Mm-hmm.
or if we weren't playing Mario 64 or any of like the WCW or the WWF games at the time, we were sitting there playing PvP in Star Fox.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we were that's what we were doing. We were all cursing at each other, we're getting pissed
Mm-hmm.
off at each other, battle lines were drawn. But we were playing this
Mm-hmm.
when we weren't figuring out, mapping out the 25
Oh
different
my
routes you could
god.
take in the game. We mapped it out. We drew them on in
Yeah.
notebooks.
And every level was so well done. I can't think of a single level that I hated. I mean, there were ones that I absolutely frustrated because they were challenging, but they were the hard route way. Like everything, like every game will have something that has like, oh, you're going through like it's already difficult as is. Oh, and by the way, for some inexplicable reason, your health is constantly draining, or you have like one health thing. Can you get through it?
Yeah.
Like, why do I only have one health bar? Why can I only take one hit? You don't give me an explanation other than, oh, by the way, it's just there. Can you make it?
Yeah.
Whereas,
Yeah.
like, the only time you get something like this in this game is you're flying around, like, the solar system's star. And you have to be basically, like, at the, like, near surface level of the star. So, like, it's just hot as fuck. And your
Yep.
health is draining. And you can do things where if you keep up by performing certain things and getting basically health boosts, you can keep your health up through the whole time while trying to fight enemies. But it's like, okay, this makes sense. And
Yeah.
if I'm not in the mood to have my health being reduced, I just avoid going to the damn star. And I don't
There you
have to
go.
play that.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, when it comes to the gameplay and the replay value of this, I cannot remember a single time where this game glitched on me.
Mm-mm.
I can't remember a single time where I was like playing this and going, "This is so challenging. I'm going to shut it off."
Yep.
It's like no, it's like I
Mm-mm.
I learned from my mistakes, and with a little bit of skill, you could beat this in the hardest difficulties. It wasn't like it was gatekeeping,
No.
So
Mm-mm.
um, for the last metric that we're going to be going against here, the music
The
of
music.
of these games has caused us to critically lower the scores of some of these games.
Yeah.
And for those of you that weren't here before we started recording, which was just Joe and I,
Mm-hmm.
we were actually jamming out to the theme song of Star Fox 64 to start off
mm-hmm.
our call today. So when we reviewed Tomb Raider, the rebooted Tomb Raider from 2013,
Mm-hmm.
one of the problems we had is that we couldn't identify a single bit of music from this game, and that's why we had to rate it lower.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I look at this game, I'm not going to give it as high of a score as I would like Donkey Kong, which is just pure iconic music that you can't get out of your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say that Star Fox 64's like in-game score, if you want to call it that, the digitized music that it
Mm-hmm.
goes with, you know, I can recognize a lot of music from this game. Like when I hear some of the dogfight music in like the last fight game,
Mm-hmm.
or the last fight level, I should say.
Yeah.
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
mm-hmm.
Like I still get pumped up when I hear that music,
Mm-hmm.
and this is over 20 years later. So for that reason, it's not perfection, as we've said before, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely memorable. For me, it's going to get 4 out of 5 barrel rolls.
Yeah, I'm almost in the same boat as you on this one. Just because where you can clearly remember it, I'm a little bit where I'm torn. Like I was definitely jamming out to the theme song, but admittedly, it's
Yeah,
the opposite of Tomb Raider, where Tomb Raider I couldn't remember anything from the score. The theme song's primarily what I remember from this one. So like, okay,
yeah,
bitchin' theme, give it that. Power Rangers had that, but even
yeah.
then, they'd throw in a Go Green Ranger Go, Go Green Ranger Go here and there. So, whereas in this game, like, yeah, when you switch to the all range mode, it switches up the music score from whatever it was from the level to the all range mode like score that's there. But honestly, I'm struggling to remember the music on that. I know it changes, I know it's different, but like it's not like Pokemon where I can distinctively know the like you can give me a music and I'll know what fucking town you're in for the
Yeah. Oh
original
yeah.
game, or I'll know
Yep.
like if you've encountered a Pokemon or if you like in Gold and Silver like when you encounter like the dogs specifically the wandering beasts you get
Hmm.
special music just for them, or I can
Yeah.
remember that, but like for the life of me I can't remember all range mode what that sounds like, and I can't pick out anything from the levels other than the fact that you get the theme song when you beat the level each time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this time, because the theme song is bitchin', and I can remember that, 3.7.
Oh, you want to do
We'll go
3.75? Because
3.7.
that's
We'll go 3.75. We'll stick with U.S. currency rules and go in quarters.
yeah,
Go in
yeah.
quarters.
That's
Three
that's
point
that's
seven
what we've
five.
3.7 would throw it off just a little bit, but
Too
I mean,
much.
it's not
Three
like
point seven
it's not
five.
like we can't do the math, but we're not gonna.
Not gonna do it. Mm-mm. Maybe
Well,
we should have done it in fractions because we're Americans.
yeah,
This is a 3 and 3/4 for me.
yeah,
Three and
yeah,
three
that's right.
quarters.
Well, Joe, surprisingly, should be surprising to no one who
Mm-hmm.
could do the math in their head. This is
Who's the
it,
Mhm.
This is the highest rated retro
Mhm.
review that we have done so far. Star Fox 64 ended up getting 36.75 barrel rolls potentially out of 40,
Ooh.
giving it a 92% from us.
You know what?
So,
I'm gonna say modern rules. That's an A. Growing up, the
it's
standard was a 93% or higher was an A. But
true.
nowadays we settle for a 90. Good job. Wow. Not only did it like actually break the C range for us, it said "fuck off B. I'm going to A."
Yep. It just
Mm-hmm.
went, yeah, it went hyperspeed right on past the B, straight to the A. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which honestly, I'm not shocked by that. I
No.
mean, it
Mm-mm.
is an iconic property for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
The game is iconic for a reason. You know, you and I clearly love this game. Almost everyone I grew up with who played this game also loved it. And as an extra heartfelt story to tack onto this, when I got straight A's when this game came out, my dad went out and he bought me Star Fox.
Oh, that's
No,
fantastic.
yep, I had never asked for it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even circle it in like the catalog or anything. I just did my job at school, did it well.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly my dad brings home Star Fox 64 and I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
hold my calls, of
Like,
which I had none at the time.
mm-hmm.
I am playing this
Yes.
as much as I possibly
Hold
can.
my calls, cancel my other meetings for the day. This is what's
Yeah,
going on. This is priority.
yeah. Unplug the dial-up modem. This is all I'm doing for the rest of the week. Yes.
America is officially offline for the day.
Yes. No chat rooms for me. Yeah. No chat rooms for 11-year-old Mark making
No.
fun of Pink Floyd in every chat room he could go into. But here we are at the end of all things,
Mm-hmm.
giving Star Fox 64 a 92%, the highest retro review that we've done so far. And folks, I think we have reached our stopping point. Joe, I know you've got stamina for probably another 8 hours, but we're going to cut it off here. And before we go,
Mm-hmm.
folks, we just want to thank everyone from the digital dissection community. You have managed to vault this show into the two back to back highest listened to weeks in our show's history. We
Yes, thank you. That is amazing.
cannot thank you enough for that. It's absolutely incredible. We're blown away by it. Every
Mm-hmm.
time we see the amount of downloads that are coming through, Joe and I just can't believe that just a little bit over a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
we had no presence whatsoever, no marketing.
Mm-hmm.
This show didn't exist, and to see that happen, we
Yeah.
just blown away.
The podcast has literally gone from talking in Mark's car, playing Pokemon Go to this, and it means a lot that you come back every week, you listen, you download, you like. For our new subscribers coming in means the world to me. For those of you who have taken time out of your day and done a review for us, like that's amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh yes, absolutely. And if this is your first time listening to one of our digital dissections here, obviously hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Joe likes to say smash them. I don't want to be as aggressive,
Don't smash it. You don't be
Yeah,
mashing it now. You don't want to do that.
I'm just mashing it now. But once again, thank you for listening, folks,
Mhm.
and we can't wait to talk to you again. But until next time, keep on dissecting.
And try the harder route.
Yes, always try the harder route.